going to be making Phoebe's Spectral Chessboard cake from the official Ghostbusters cookbook. If you're unfamiliar, Phoebe Spengler is Egon's granddaughter in Afterlife, and a ghost actually teaches her to play chess, which is why she's kind of affiliated with this. This recipe is really cool. It's really like eye-catching and show-stopping if you were to take it to a Halloween party, or just, honestly, this doesn't have to be a Halloween dessert. This could be an anytime dessert. It's chocolate cake, it's vanilla cake, it's got this wonderful fudge frosting, and a nice little flourish of confectioner sugar at the end. So let's go ahead and hop into the video. I think you're going to really like this one. To begin this recipe, we need to make 4 cake layers, 2 vanilla layers and 2 chocolate layers. So we're going to start making our vanilla layer. This is 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. And to that, we're just going to put about 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And get all that mixed up together. In the bowl of the stand mixer, I've put in 2 sticks of softened butter. And to that, we're going to add 2 cups of sugar. And then we're just going to cream these together on high until a fluffy buttercream icing texture forms. This is where you can go ahead and add the next ingredients. So we're going to put about a tablespoon of, I'm using clear vanilla extract, but regular vanilla will work just fine. And we're also going to put in 3 eggs at room temperature. And once again, we're just going to stir this around until everything gets incorporated together. I've got our dry mixture and a cup of buttermilk, and we're just going to alternate. If you've seen a lot of my cake recipes, many recipes go this way. We're just going to alternate putting in about 1/3 of the dry mixture, mixing it up, 1/3 of the buttermilk, mixing it up, and alternate back and forth until you've used all of the flour and the buttermilk. I've preheated an oven to 350 degrees, and now we're just going to take our vanilla batter and get them into 2 9-inch greased and lined cake pans. And I'm going to eyeball it at first. I am probably going to weigh these to get them to a roughly equal amount of batter. And the reason for that is because we're the way we're going to be making a chessboard cake here, we need to try to get as even as we can layers so that they all will line up to each other as we assemble it. So once I get these filled up here, we're going to put these in the oven, like I said, at 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes or until a toothpick inserted comes out clean, if that's the way that you test yours. And I'll see you guys on the other side of the bake. I just took the vanilla cake layers out of the oven and they're looking beautiful. So we're going to let these cool in their tins for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll turn them out and we will just set these cake layers aside as we make the chocolate cake layers. And we want all of the cake layers to be completely cool before we get ready to assemble the cake. For the chocolate cake layers, we're going to follow a very similar process with a slightly different ingredient mix. We're again starting with 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, and to that we're going to add 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. And then 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, as well as 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and another pinch of our vanilla salt, but you can just use regular salt as well. And once again, we're just going to get our dry mix nice and mixed up. And now we're going to head over to the stand mixer to make our wet mix. At the stand mixer, just like last time, we're starting off with 2 sticks of butter and 2 cups of sugar. And we're just going to whip those together until they get nice and fluffy. And once again, we're going to put in a couple of teaspoons of vanilla, as well as 3 room temperature eggs. And we're just going to mix that until we get a nice smooth batter. And finally, we're going to do what we did before and just take 1/3 of this dry mixture and put that in the bowl, and then alternate with the buttermilk until we get a fully incorporated batter. This batter definitely is thicker than the other one, but just like before, you want to grease up some cake pans and you want to put about half of the batter in each one. And once again, we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees and bake these for 25 to 30 minutes. The chocolate layers just popped out of the oven. And once again, like the vanilla layers, we're going to let them cool for a bit, flip them out of their pans, and then let them cool all the way back to room temperature before we use them again. One last time at the stand mixer for this recipe. So we've got 3 sticks of room temperature butter here. We are going to make a lot of frosting, so that's why these ingredients are so kind of hefty. Then we've got half a cup of cocoa powder as well as a pinch of salt. And we're going to put in about a tablespoon of vanilla. And we're going to start putting in 6 cups of confectioner sugar. So definitely get the 7-pound bag from Sam's Club before you start this. Now I'm going to just on low start to whip this, and I'll continually add in more confectioner sugar as it goes. Now we're going to add 1 tablespoon at a time, about 4 to 5 tablespoons of heavy cream, and we're just going to let this go on low and let this combine and add 1 at a time until we get a smooth chocolate icing. And that's why it's 4 to 5, is you're just going to have to use your best judgment. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like, but it may vary for various reasons with your mixture. This is about what you want for your icing. It's light and fluffy, almost like a mousse, but it's still spreadable and will hold its shape. So now we're going to get to the fun part of this recipe, which is actually assembling our chessboard. I've got our 4 layers cooled here, and now we're just going to cut off a very thin layer off the top of each cake layer so that we've got a nice smooth flat surface to work with. For this next part, I find it helpful to use my rolling mat with circles on it just to help me center and really get a uniform cut on all of the layers here. So for each layer, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take a 7-inch piece of glassware or a piece of anything really, a cookie cutter all the way. I mean, cookie that's too big for a cookie cutter, but anything, a piece of cardboard, anything that, even if you're just doing a printer cutout. So we're just going to use that as a guide, and we're then going to cut out a circle all the way around. And then once that's done, we're going to do it again with a 3-inch guide. And so you should be left with a circle as well as 2 rings. Now, you want to be very careful with them at this point. I'm actually probably going to use a pizza paddle to move these around because it's particularly the rings can be really fragile, and you really don't want to get them messed up here before we get them all assembled into the layers of the cake. On a 9-inch pie plate, I'm going to begin by putting a chocolate center. Then around that chocolate center, we're going to put a vanilla middle ring. And then we're going to go ahead and just fit a chocolate middle ring around that. Now, it may crumble on you a little bit, mine did, but that's okay because we're going to kind of glue this all together here with the frosting. So now what we're going to do is take the frosting, and we're just going to put a very thin layer across the top here and just get it all the way around. But like I said, this is really just gluing the layers together. So get it all the way around, get a nice thin, solid all the way through, but a thin layer around. And then we're going to go ahead and move on and do the next layer. And we're going to alternate. So this one was chocolate, vanilla, chocolate. So the next layer will be vanilla, chocolate, vanilla until we get all 4 layers stacked on this cake. I've got all 4 layers stacked now, and now we're just going to ice the top and the sides of the cake, so it's got chocolate icing all the way around. Cake is all iced up. I used a cake turner as well as a scraper to get the icing by and large nice and smooth on the top and the sides. And there's just one little bit of garnish we're going to do last here, and that's we've got some cocoa powder in a sugar mill, and we're just going to sprinkle that across the top. And we're going to do the same thing with a little bit of powdered sugar. All right, we're going to cut a slice and see if I'm actually going to be able to use this for a video or not. Oh my God, guys, look at how perfect these layers came out. That is just a perfect checkerboard pattern. This is a really good and really fun dessert. It'll definitely be a showstopper that'll get people talking anytime you cut into it and you show people the slices. So go ahead and check this one out. Check out this cookbook. It does have some really fun recipes. This is just one I happen to want to make this year. Last year, you can check out I made the Slimer salad. But we'll leave it there, and I'll see you guys at the next video.